found myself on a flat, white plain. I seemed to be stuck in place, and I could somehow see in all directions. And then a voice answered me and said, "Time has no meaning here." I was turned around by whatever this force was and found someone standing there. He was in the shape of a man, but his body was composed of pure light, as if he was light himself, and it literally radiated from his very being. He told me, "Follow me, do not fear."
Warning, ignorance isn't protection, it's deception. There's a war happening right now, beyond what your eye can see. The enemy is after your mind, your home, and your destiny. But the one who speaks truth is calling you higher. This is God's Voice Daily, where the supernatural gets real, and here is today's featured episode. Enjoy. Kevin, welcome to God's Voice Daily. You had a vision where you found yourself on a flat, endless plain, then a radiant being in white appeared and showed you glimpses of heaven and a golden city. Wow. Tell me more, man.
Yes, I was around about 9 years old at the time. So this is the time that I gave my life to Christ. I remember being baptized at the place in Kennesaw, Georgia. I don't remember if that church is still around anymore, but for some reason, something changed after that day. So there was one time I was going to sleep, and I don't know if to call it a vision or a dream. It was very strange because I used to love reading Revelations. I used to be captured by the throne, the flaming fire, the 24 elders, the Ancient of Days, all that wording, those kind of things. So maybe that's where the anticipation started. I used to wonder, what does all this mean? And it's hard as a child to wrap your head around these things. I had a pretty active and vivid imagination, but nothing could quite replace the wording of the Word of God. So, in my dream, or I don't know if to call it a vision, I found myself on a flat, white plain at first. I seemed to be stuck in place, and I could somehow see in all direction, and the white plain kind of went infinitely. So I'm like, whoa, this is kind of strange. But I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel anxious. I just was kind of there. It's hard to describe. So then I'm like, what exactly is going on? As soon as I asked myself where I was, I received an answer sort of in another vision. Like I could see in my mind's eye that I was on a planet roughly about the same size of Earth, completely flat, no mountains, hills, valleys, like as smooth as that white cue ball they use in pool. Something in my mind told me this planet has nothing on it. It's barren. And I could kind of see it in my mind's eye. And I was like, whoa, that was weird. How is it that I'm standing here, yet I can see it in my mind's eye at the same time? And then as I was looking around, I saw sort of a shifting figure in the distance. And when I looked closer, it's like even though it was far off, I could see with crystal clear vision, like it's right in front of me. It was a tree. But the tree was shifting as sort of like shape shifting in a way in different stages of growth. It would, what do you call it? It would bear fruit, it would die, then it'd be reborn, and then it just kept going and just kept going and just kept going in that cycle.
Was it like a time lapse so you could see it like quickly happening in real time?
Yes, it seemed as if wherever I was, because when I asked myself, what's going on with that tree? Once again, a voice answered me. I don't know if that voice is me or someone else speaking. A voice answered me and said, "Time has no meaning here." That's what that means. And I'm like, whoa. But I didn't question the voice. So I kind of tend to think it's my own voice because I don't know why another voice would speak to me and I not question it. So
Interesting. What do you make of that tree, though? Why do you think that tree was there?
I think the tree was there to show me the passage of time, but with my limited understanding of the time, and even now, I don't necessarily understand why that tree had to be there, and only that tree. There's nothing else.
What kind of fruit was it?
They kind of looked sort of like a peach-apple combination. That's the best way I can describe it.
Well, and since you were in Georgia, right? The peach.
Yes.
Peach
That's the
capital.
closest thing I had, yeah. But
Hmm.
it was red, not necessarily sort of a cross. It's a fruit, let me say, that I've never seen on the earth. So I just did my best to describe it in earthly terms. And I realized every time I asked a question or I would have a thought about something, the answer would come to me immediately. Sometimes audibly in the form of a voice, sometimes visually, and sometimes I would even gain impressions. It was very strange, but it wasn't surprising. So now that I look back, that I'm older, I think I was in the spiritual realm.
Hmm. Kevin, I'm curious. What kind of questions did you ask before we move on to the next one? What did you
Like I
ask?
would ask myself,
Go ahead.
where
Sorry.
am I?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would get an immediate answer. You're on a planet? And then I'd see like a zoomed out, like I'm looking at it from a spaceship. Just a cue ball shaped planet, completely smooth, completely like pure white, except for that tree. At first, I thought I was alone until I noticed that tree. Then I'm just like, what is going on? And every time I would ask, once again, that voice would answer. And I never really felt heat or cold or wind or anything that I could say, yeah, maybe this was a dream and I was here on the earth. It was nothing like that. It was like completely still. There was a sky and a ground, but the ground was white and the sky had, it was a blue and it had clouds, but it was like a very calm kind of sunny day. But there was no sun either. So that's why I'm like, where is this light coming from? It's very, imagine 9 years old. So, anyways, now somehow, some way, I was turned around. Like there was this entire time, there was something holding me in place and something moving me. It wasn't my own will. I was turned around by whatever this force was and found someone standing there. He was in the shape of a man, and why I say he's because he looked masculine, but his body was composed of pure light, as if he was light himself, and it literally radiated from his very being. That light was so bright and white, like it almost, it even overshadowed his features. Like you can see his face very clearly because of that light. You couldn't see inside. It's almost like an aura. I don't know how to describe it. He had on sandals. He had on the whitest robe that I've ever seen. But when I tried to look at his face, he had some form of a shield around his face, sort of like if light was a liquid and it was put inside of a mask and you put that mask on. That's the best way I describe it. His hair was curly. It kind of reminds me of the British people when they used to wear those funny curly wigs.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what the hair was like. And it was about shoulder length. And when I'm looking at this person, I'm just sitting there completely fascinated. He didn't frighten me. I wasn't scared. But whatever thoughts, doubts, or fear or anything that I had would it just like went away. It fled. That's the way I like to describe it.
Who do
He
you
was
think that
looking
was,
at
by the way? Is it Jesus? Hey, before we get back to the episode, I've interviewed nearly 2,000 people about their supernatural encounters. And after hearing all those stories, I started writing down the most powerful lessons I've learned. And I keep updating these lessons every single day. And guess what? You can read them for absolutely free at godsvoiceday.com/lessons. And now let's get back to the episode.
I think it was either Jesus or the Father, or maybe even the Holy Spirit. It's hard to say. It was God Himself because He was looking at me. But even though I couldn't see His eyes, I knew He was looking at me. Then I'm just standing there, kind of in awe at this being made of light, essentially. And He's just standing there. He's very calm, not really saying anything. I think He's just letting me process what's really going on. Then, as he's standing there facing me, a city comes down from the sky behind him. The city was pure gold, inside and out, all the way throughout the streets, throughout the little rooms, throughout the houses, the walls, everything was pure gold. And around, it had a wall around the outside, and embedded in the walls were like precious jewels, diamonds, sapphires, emerald, rubies, etc. It was extremely beautiful. Then somehow by, I don't know if by his power or whatever this force was holding me, it teleported me in a blink of an eye. That's the closest term I can use. In less than a blink, we were in the center of that golden city. Now me and him. He's still looking at me, I'm still looking at him. But now we're in the center of that golden city. Once again, as soon as I asked where we were, I got a bird's eye view of that city. And I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. And a voice told me, this city is empty. It has no inhabitants yet. So now he's still standing in front of me and I'm facing him. And I'm just kind of there to see what's going to happen. So this ladder comes out of heaven. Looks like one of those old wooden ladders they used to use way back in the day. Had no handrails, uh, had a sort of one staff-like base, but the rungs were perpendicular to that base and they went all the way up into the clouds, or what I would call heaven here on earth. This entire time, I'm still looking at him, and then he finally speaks. But when he speaks, his mouth moves, but I hear his voice in my mind, a very powerful voice that is like my very being was vibrating with his power. Whenever he spoke, like I couldn't even think about anything else. Like my attention was almost without my own will pulled to his voice. Sounded like a mix of thunder and water together. He told me, let's climb. Follow me. Do not fear. So he starts climbing that ladder, and I just start climbing after him. Whatever he says, I just feel like I have to do whatever he says. I don't even question. I just do it. We're climbing, we're climbing, we're climbing. We're going higher and we're going higher. We're going higher. Eventually, we reach the clouds. As we start getting closer to the clouds, he says to me, do not look down. Do not fear. Keep your eyes on me. And even though he was above me, his voice sounded like he was right next to me. So as he's preparing to enter the clouds, they began to form into, I like to remember from my science class back in high school, those cumulonimbus clouds, those dark storm clouds. And there's lightning, there's thunder, there's weird voices. I don't know what they're saying, just what looked like chaos. So he disappears into the clouds. There's still the thunder, the lightning, there's strange voices speaking in a language I don't understand. Unfortunately or fortunately, I still do not know after this day, after he disappeared, the fear and doubts came flooding back into me immediately. I guess I remember my own humanity because I was like, oh my goodness. I looked down, I realized how high I was, and I knew that if I were to slip off this ladder, that would be it. That would be my death. I think that's when I started thinking in my earthly terms. I didn't realize I was in the spirit. I knew he wanted me to follow him because that's what he told me, but I was still hesitant and I was still skeptical. It's like the moment I lost sight of him, all those fears, all those insecurities came back. So I wimped out basically and I reached out a finger. I'm like, let me just put my finger through these clouds and my finger comes back okay. Then I can proceed with the rest. Sort of like how you put a finger or a toe in a pool to check the temperature. They looked almost liquid the way they were moving, so that's how I like to describe it. But before I could get my finger in my hand and the rest of my body. Unfortunately, I woke up. I was woken up by my older sister who was there at the time. It was morning and I was absolutely soaked. Like my bed sheets were, it looked like I took a bath in my own bed, soaked and drenched in sweat. And I didn't even care about all that. I was just so mad because they had interrupted this dream or vision. Because I was so angry. And then my sister was like, "Bro, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "You have no idea. I was just about to go. I think I was about to go to heaven." Those kind of things. Even to this day, she knows. I was really mad that day. She tried calling my parents. She's like, "I don't know what's going on. My brother woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. He's flipping out."
She ruined it for you.
She ruined it for me because I wanted to see what was on the other side of that veil.
Man, that's what I was hoping you would tell us.
Man, I tried every night for like the next probably 7 years to go back and complete that vision or dream. And I tried praying, I tried everything.
No
And
luck,
then I
huh?
said, "Man, let me just keep this in my memory." I tried to explain it to my parents, but they were like, I don't know what that is. We've never had a dream. We've never had a vision or anything like that." I tried asking my local church elders. Nobody knew. So far, even up to this point, no one has any idea and who can tell me what that dream means. But then as I grew in my walk in Christ, I started really reading the Bible deeper. I started thinking to myself, because I would look back at that vision. I'm like, wait a second. According to the Bible, this looks like the New Jerusalem. Huh. Why a child and why that age of all reasons? That's really what I asked myself. Because I've been praying and asking God, please just tell me what it is that you wanted to say to me. And so far, He has not revealed it to me, but I believe that was God Himself. Because even the way He describes, He has hair like wool. I believe that's one of the descriptions in Revelation.
Right.
His hair sort of had that texture. Now, I didn't touch it, but looking at it, that's what it was like. Shoulder length, woolly hair. But because He radiated such light, such power, like you don't even care about His hair. Like you're just, He like pulls you in somehow. He's like a planet or a black hole in Himself. And everything just goes out. Any questions you wanted to ask, they leave. Any doubts you have, they leave. Any fear you have, they leave. You just know whoever this is, I'm going to follow him. But unfortunately, the moment you lose sight of him, that's when your humanity creeps back in. Oh man, I'm still angry to this day, but I ask God to forgive me. Because I'm like, God, you can give me the rest of that dream. I know so much more now. I've been reading the Bible, I've been reading Revelation. He still hasn't.
Hmm. But I guarantee you, Kevin, someone listening or watching to this right now, they're getting a deeper revelation on this right now. So I would be paying attention to the comments as well, just to see. I'm curious. Maybe this show is part of the puzzle. Maybe somebody watching, listening can give you another glimpse. It's interesting. God uses people, and sometimes He'll share mystery a certain way, and somebody else will come around. It's kind of like, some people sow and some people water and some people harvest. And so interesting. I'm curious to see what happens after this goes live. See who will have a deeper, greater revelation of this. But oh my goodness, what a dream. Well, that's not really a dream. It was a vision that you heard all that. It's still interesting about the tree that you got to see kind of like a time lapse and the fruit that was on it. And that's, I'm sure there's probably something, and that's the first thing you saw on that white plane. I'm sure that has some kind of greater meaning. So you had all this time.
And I found it interesting that the tree was in front of me, but imagine He was standing behind me for I don't know how long before I actually turned around. or I was turned around to see him. And I'm like, why show me the tree first and then show me him? Why not show me him first and then leave the tree? So there's something in there.
So
I don't know what it is.
for all you Bible scholars and people with greater revelation watching right now, definitely leave the comments below. I'm curious. There'll be a good conversation happening in the comments after this. When this airs, I'll
Yes.
be checking them out for sure. I'll be going straight to the comments. Well, I'm curious, Kevin. So you had some time process yourself. Are there
Mhm.
certain things that you have? Like, I know you're not 100% sure about everything, but do you have any ideas what all of that, why you were presented all of this at such a young age, or you still feel like you're kind of a
Mm,
little bit on the clueless side?
I still feel like I'm a little bit on the clueless side. I know God was trying to tell me something, but then I'm like, sometimes I ask God, um, why didn't you show this to me when I was like 25, or 30? You you showed me this when I was 8, 9 years old, and I had no real concept of anything. I was a child. How do you expect a child to understand the weight of this? Now, when I look back, I'm like, you mean I was standing before God Himself? You know how many questions I would have asked? And I think maybe that's why.
He probably didn't have that much
I would have
time.
been asked,
Yeah,
yeah, I would have been asking him, by the way, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And all this and all that.
that's interesting.
But as a child, I was just in complete awe, like to the point where you don't even feel like speaking. You just, whoever this being, you just let them.
Let's talk more about this city that you saw. I'm curious,
Hmm.
are there any other details about it that you remember that was very interesting?
Yeah, one definitely the pure gold. It was made out, I don't know how I knew, but I knew it was made out of pure gold. Everything in it, the walls, the buildings, the floors, everything was made in pure gold. And now that I think about it, interestingly enough, in the center where we were, apart from that ladder coming down out of heaven, there was nothing else. And when I was reading Revelation the other day, it said how in the New Jerusalem, there'll be God and the Son, Jesus Christ. God Himself will be in the center of the city. It said that He will be the light. There will be no sun. You see what I'm saying? So I'm making all these connections now. There's no sun in that place.
Wow.
My light completely came from this being who I know now as God. There was no one in the center of that city. It was just flat, as if, now that I think about it, that's room for two thrones, which would be the throne of the Father, the throne of the Son. And there were little canals shooting out from the center of that, because I also read in Revelation that the waters of, or is it the river of life, will be flowing from the throne of God throughout the city. There will be no heat, there will be no cold, there will be no seasons. Like everything that you need will be provided by God, who will be literally in the city with you in the New Jerusalem.
And you got a glimpse, you got a preview of all of that at age 9. I'm jealous, Kevin. I'm jealous.
I
Well,
didn't know what it meant at the time. It took me many, many years to really understand the weight of that vision.
wow. By the way, after that vision, when you came back, you started sharing it with everybody?
I shared it with my parents, but they kind of looked at me like I was a psycho. So I was like, maybe I should just keep this one to myself. I try to share it with my pastors. My pastors are looking at me like, what are you talking about? I try to share with my sister. She's looking at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm like, okay, maybe these aren't the right people to be sharing this with. And I kind of don't want to end up in the mental ward. So let me
Right.
just keep
I
this
got
to
it.
myself
Yeah. I don't blame you.
until the day comes when I can reveal it,
Well,
which
you're
is
sharing it
today.
with the right people today. The people
Mm,
that watch this show, they know their stuff. It would be
yes.
interesting to see what they say. Well, Kevin, in closing, is there anything else you want to share before we disconnect?
Nothing. Just I hope that we bring as many people to Christ as we can before the day comes that He returns to get us.
Mm.
And maybe then I'll be able to ask Him
Yeah,
those questions.
absolutely.
And maybe then I'm imagining that day I'll be saying, "It's you! I knew it! It's you! I knew it was you! I knew it now that I'm seeing you again."
And you can find that
Mhm.
tree and you can look
Yes, and I
closer to
can
see what.
find that tree.
No, that's so cool. Wow, what a vision. Thank you so much, Kevin, for sharing. Appreciate it. We'll stay in
Thank
touch.
you.
Take care.
Okay,
God
see
bless.
you.
Bye bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If today's episode spoke to you, share with someone who needs to hear it. And if you had a supernatural encounter of your own, I'd love to hear it. Just go to godsvoiceday.com/call to schedule your call.